South Korea has reported 17 new cases of COVID-19, the first time its daily jump came down to the teens in nearly a month, as health authorities scrambled to contain a resurgence of the virus centered around the capital. The figures released by the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Monday brought the national caseload to 12,438 cases, including 280 deaths. The country over the past 2 weeks have been reporting 50 to 40 new cases per day amid increased public activity and eased attitudes on social distancing. There has also been an uptick in imported cases, mostly from passengers arriving from Southwest Asia. A senior official said Thailand on Monday reported 3 new coronavirus cases, all imported, marking 28 days without local transmission. The spokesman for the Government Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration said the 3 new cases were Thai nationals returning from India and were detected in state quarantine. Thailand has so far recorded 58 deaths related to COVID-19, among 3,151 infections, of which 3,022 patients have recovered. The administration was coordinating with Myanmar authorities regarding 23 coronavirus cases found among migrants deported from Thailand. Australians were warned on Monday to avoid travelling to Melbourne as the country's second biggest city tightened COVID-19 coronavirus restrictions amid fears of a second wave of the epidemic. Victoria State has recorded more than 110 cases in the past week, many of them in Melbourne, prompting leaders of other regions to warn against visiting the city's 6 designated virus hotspots. It was the first major backpedal on easing restrictions as the rest of the country continues to record low numbers of new cases and work to restart the economy. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will unveil the latest easing of Britain's coronavirus lockdown on Tuesday, when he will also announce the conclusion of a review into whether a 2-meter rule on social distancing should be relaxed. Britain's economy has been hammered by the lockdown to stop the spread of COVID-19. And although non-essential retailers were allowed to reopen last Monday, many businesses, particularly in the hospitality and leisure sectors, have remained closed. Some lawmakers in Premier Johnson's party have been vocal in calling for him to drop the 2-meter rule, saying it was having a devastating impact on the economy, which shrank by a quarter over March and April. But the government has been cautious, saying it did not want to risk a second spike in coronavirus cases. The European Union and China will seek to cool tensions on Monday at a video summit, their first formal talks since ties soared over European accusations that Beijing has spread disinformation about COVID-19. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Charles Michel, the EU's chief executive and chairman, will hold video conferences with Premier Li Keqiang and President Xi Jinping. No joint statement is expected after the summit. EU officials say China has sought to pressure EU countries that criticize its handling of the novel coronavirus, using social media to spread fake reports of European neglect of COVID-19 patients. Beijing has denied wrongdoing. Britain's Security Minister said Monday a knife attack which left 3 people dead in the town of Reading was a shocking and callous act, although he refused to comment on reports that the suspected attacker was known to British intelligence. The stabbing rampage in the southern English town of Reading was an act of terrorism, police said Sunday, calling the attack in the park on groups enjoying a sunny evening an atrocity. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he was appalled and sickened by the attack. Counterterrorism policing Southeast said a 25-year-old man from Reading, who was arrested initially on suspicion of murder on Saturday, has now been re-arrested under Section 41 of the Terrorism Act 2000. Police in The Hague said they detained some 400 people over the weekend after demonstrators refused to leave a protest against the Dutch government's social distancing measures put in place to halt the spread of COVID-19. Several thousand protesters had gathered in the Malieveld area in The Hague, close to the Dutch seat of the government, even though the rally had been banned by the municipality. Authorities had allowed a brief protest to go ahead in the afternoon before asking demonstrators to leave. Protesters carried banners demanding that the Dutch rule to keep a distance of 1.5 meters from one another be lifted. Police eventually ended the demonstration and detained a group of 400 people who refused to leave. 3 militants were killed in a shootout with Indian government forces in the heart of Kashmir's main city, Srinagar, police said on Monday, 2 days after 8 rebels died in another gun battle. New Delhi has been stepping up counter-insurgency efforts in the disputed territory since the nationwide COVID-19 coronavirus lockdown was imposed in late March. A police officer said the militants were killed in a firefight in the Zune Mia area of the densely populated old city of Srinagar. Indian-administrated Kashmir has been in turmoil since last August, when New Delhi revoked its semi-autonomous status and imposed a communications blackout that has not been fully lifted. Thousands of Russian troops will march in Moscow next Wednesday as President Vladimir Putin rushes off Paris first to host a World War II commemoration ahead of a crucial vote on his rule. The military display in Red Square to mark 75 years since the Soviet victory in World War II had been scheduled for May 9th, but the Kremlin postponed it, citing requests from veterans as COVID-19 cases shot up. President Putin rescheduled the event as soon as lockdown measures eased, keen to move on from an outbreak that has hit his country hard. According to Refinitiv Icon and Iran's embassy in Venezuela, an Iranian ship was approaching the Venezuelan port of La Guaira Sunday with a cargo of food that will supply the South American nation's first Iranian supermarket. The Islamic Republic of Iran supplied 1.5 million barrels of fuel to Venezuela last month amid a collapse of refinery operations and tightening sanctions by the US that has made it more difficult for Venezuela to obtain fuel on international markets. The Iranian-flagged general cargo ship Gulsan departed on May 15th from Bandar Abbas, according to Icon data. 5 tankers left for the Caribbean from the same port in March after loading fuel.